So the thing about me is I've always focused on talent. I've always wanted to be authentic, and I had to be. When I first started with spoken word. It was, you said you're from Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
And in Jersey, and I used to perform in Brooklyn too, at the Brooklyn Tea Party, which was at the YMCA on Atlantic.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And we perform at the Brooklyn Moon, which was a cafe around the corner from there. And same with Jersey, like the venues that we put, especially Jersey, you really had to be good. People, the fellas ain't really want to be there.
Right.
They're either there to meet a woman or they're there because their woman wanted them to bring them there. And now they done worked all day, and they done paid to get in. They buying all these drinks for the woman or the woman that they, hoping to get to know better.
Right.
And they didn't have a lot of patience, man.
Yeah.
It wasn't, my mind was blown over the years to go to spoken word events and people would be like, hey, can I start over? And people were like, oh yeah, because it wasn't like that. If you wanted to start over back when I was starting, it's like, nah, B.
Right.
You
done.
Next person, next. So I always wanted to be authentic. So like when I say Howlin' Wolf, and I study these people, I read their books, the Howlin' Wolves, the Muddy Waters, the Willie Dixons, the John Lee Hookers. So when the Three Kings was Albert King is number 2. Number 1 is BB King. Number 3, the least known of the Kings, is Freddie King.
Okay.
Right? Who's dope with a guitar and singing. The funny thing about BB King is he plays the guitar better than most people, but never plays the guitar and sings simultaneously. That was like the difference between them.
Okay.
Like if he focuses on one thing or the other, either he's singing or he playing the guitar.
Okay.
If you hear BB King, he doesn't do both at the same time.
Wow, I never knew that.
And the thing about BB King is that he was one of the most successful blues artists ever, in terms of monetary success, in terms of fame, right? But he was respected because he came from that same ilk. He came from that same poverty. He came from those like how Muddy Waters and them came from the Delta. When they say they came from the Delta, when they say they came from Tupelo, right? They came from Tupelo, Mississippi, where they had the floods.
Mississippi.
Right. and that's why he called himself Muddy Waters, right? And the thing is, they came from a plantation.
Oh wow.
Right? It wasn't slavery, it was sharecropping, which was pseudo-slavery.
Right.
Everything was on that plantation. The plantation had their houses, the plantation had the store, the plantation had everything, and they all lived, and the plantation had the club and the juke joints. It was all on, on the guy's plantation. You know what I mean? And they came up from that, moved up, north, migrated to Chicago, and they was authentic. And BB King was just as authentic as them, as authentic as Robert Johnson, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? But he had the mind to become a little more successful than everybody else. That's why I say I kind of relate more to BB King, because I think about business in the same way that I think about the art. But what I never did think about prior to now was I've never been super ambitious in terms of accolades and what people would consider the validation of things.
Yeah, because I remember the last time we talked about turning down Def Jam poetry.
Yeah, and not for being mean.
No.
The first time I said I didn't want to do it, they didn't have a show, right? But they had my email address. And it's not like today, where people would, your email address is just everywhere. It was like somebody having your house address. Right. And I'm like,
specials.
And I knew that I had been kicking it with this sister who, was working at HBO, and I'm like, did she give her my email? Because it's not. I mean, it's hard to think about how hard it would have been back then for somebody to know that type of information. So the first time they emailed me, and they didn't email me and ask me to do it. They emailed me and asked me where I wanted to be flown in from. So they just take for granted that, and I was like, it just felt weird the first time.
But I think that speaks to your consideration when it comes to whether or not I want the accolades. You know what I'm saying? I want to be on tour. I wanted the accolades for something different. I didn't want it from being
being on television. I didn't want it from being on a record label. I wanted to be able to, and I used to do this, the same thing like a blues man would do. So Muddy Waters, they used to call themselves the headhunters, right? Because they would go into a place they wasn't even featured and chop off heads in their mind. I used to go to places I wasn't even featured, but I get on the open mic. You got one poem, I'll do two. Put them together.
Yeah, right.
You got two poems, I'll do 2.5, 3, but I just put them together in such a way. If you gave me 3 poems, I'm featured. I might as well, I mean, even if it only took me 9 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm selling product.
Right.
And I used to just like, I'd be in Chicago and I travel to Indiana on a Greyhound or something. You know what I mean? Or travel to Wisconsin, to you know, wherever. And I had gone places I ain't never been before. Didn't know nothing about it. I get off at that Greyhound station. I just know that there's a spoken word venue because I looked it up. You know what I mean? And sometimes I had to walk 2 miles, 3 miles in the dark. You know what I mean?
So how did you look up a spoken word place back in the?
But I had always been involved. Like I had always been involved.
Because you can't Google back. You couldn't Google back then.
Yeah, but before Google, there was Yahoo.
Okay.
There was you could AOL search stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But other people wasn't doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I used to be like how, like The Color of Money, you know, we talk about Red Storm, you know, we watched that, like Color of Money and The Hustler, you know, and it's just pool shark stuff. He plays pool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I used to be like the type of person that the way I started traveling around the country in the beginning was looking for slams on like Yahoo before Google. I remember when Google came out, it was like the first time I ever heard somebody talk about Google was 1999. You know what I mean? I remember like, because it was different. Because Yahoo, you could actually pay for placement, whatever. And Google was using, its own algorithm. I forgot what it's called. I used to know what it was called, Page something. And it had nothing to do with what you paid. I mean, what you paid them or whatever. It had to do with how important, how relevant the search would be for you.
Okay. Oh, right. So they're using algorithms from your personal search history, or
all of that, and the words you use, and what do we think they really are looking for? Yahoo is like, yo, based on what they said, who paid us the most money?
It's gonna be on the top of the list.
Right, on the top of the list. And AOL was like that too, you know. And I was searching those things, looking for paid slams. You know what I mean? So a slam could pay like $100 or $200 back in the day. You know what I mean? It could be, and that's how I first came to Baltimore, where I ended up living for like 10 or more years. Because I was looking up a slam in the Enoch Library, which was the public library in Baltimore. They had a slam. Oh, wow. You know what I mean? But they don't know me. I'm from Jersey. Right. In New York, in New Jersey, I can't just walk. If I walk in, everybody know what's up back then in the 90s and early 2000s. The way I came to Baltimore was a slam in the paper. I mean, and that I found online. I drove down there and I just acted meek on that pool shark stuff. You know, I just came in there, looked nervous, sat in the back. People were asking me my name and I was just looking down. You know what I mean? And then I get up on stage and I'm just like, killing it. You know what I mean? At the time I'm big news in New York, in New Jersey. We doing slams at the hottest poets. They was giving $500 a week, B. Whoa. It was crazy. You know what I mean? And I'm saying the top people from New York and New Jersey slamming every Friday night on 125th Street, going at it. So my chops is crazy. And now I'm going down to Baltimore or to Philadelphia or to the Carolinas or to, Virginia, and I'm acting like I'm green.
Right. But get on stage.
And you get on stage and I'm bringing the chops of somebody who's been winning slams, not all the slams. I didn't win all the high slams, but I'm that, grade of artists. I'm a contender in New York and New Jersey. A top contender.
Right.
You know what I mean? New Yorkers. I was on the New York Slam team in '99.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think when we have, again, these conversations, one of the things that always resonates with me is just the experience that you have. You know what I mean? The experience you've been doing this. How many years now?
I've been writing since I was a child. So I grew up with poetry. Right? I tell the story all the time. My parents was from a Mary Baraka's organization. My mother read spoken word to me from my earliest days when I first started reading. That's what was there. Those those books was in the house. The County Cullen, the Claude McKay, the Dudley Randall, the Langston Hughes. All that. That's how I learned to read. You know what I mean?
Right.
In the albums, we only had like 20 albums, to my recollection. And in addition to like a Esther Phillips, who covered Gil Scott Heron's "Home Is Where the Hatred Is," was just. The other albums were Gil Scott Heron, The Last Poets, Mary Baraka, Oscar Brown Jr. And I was a latchkey kid, the type of kid. Right. The string on my neck and come home. Yeah. My mother was a single mother. She had jobs. You know what I mean? And that's how I entertained myself. It wasn't a lot of television programming. We had 3 channels.
Right.
It wasn't like now it's infinite, right? I got I wonder how much I missed. I got Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV. I got all this stuff. I don't even know how much I'm missing right now. You know what I mean? Back then. You wasn't missing nothing.
Nah.
You only had 3 channels. Unless you had the money to get HBO and what they used to call WHT.
WHT.
You follow? You remember that? You had the little box you turned.
Right. You had the thing, you put it on the window, you point it outside. Yo, that was crazy.
You wasn't missing nothing back then. Like, whatever was on television, everybody knew. You know? So I had those albums. And that was my entertainment. It's gonna happen next.
Sets the stage.
A lot of that album is just live stuff, and it's live at a venue in in LA called Swam. It's live at a very sacred venue in LA called the World Stage. My wife's poem is done from the Poetry Lounge, which is the biggest open mic in the country. And the longest running large open mic in the country. Poetry Lounge get hundreds of people a week. You know what I mean? Poems in Ingrid B's spot down there in West Palm Beach, or technically Sunrise, Florida, right now. It's done, and a lot of that stuff is just live in venues, and in Atlanta too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's what's up. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was. Is it all audio or is it?
Is it a cappella? Most of it is a cappella because. I usually make an album where it's probably anywhere from half a cappella and half poems with music, or 3/4 a cappella and the rest poems with music. The next quarter poems with music, but there wasn't enough time for me to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to fly to Ohio and work with this cat named Jay Rawls. I wanted to fly to LA, work with this cat named Solo. It just wasn't time. By the time that I realized that I had the opportunity, I had to pull something together.
Gotcha.
But conversely, it's the album that people probably would want more than the album that I wanted to make. Because a lot of times, the album I made with the music, I like the tracks with the music because I already know the poems. So just listening to poems didn't move me. But the other people, they wanted to hear the poems, and then there's the energy of when you hear even especially my wife's thing at the Poetry Lounge, she could hardly get through the poem because people screaming, yelling, you know what I mean? Because of the energy. And if you listen to it, even in that language of the disenfranchised, once it gets toward the end of it, as it goes further and further, people there's at the end, it's funny, somebody just go, come on, poet, you know? And it's just, the energy of that is nuts.
Yeah.
Sometimes crowd involvement could be its own accompaniment.
No, I totally agree with that. I think that a lot of times when performing, it pushes. It even sometimes the crowd energy may even alter the way that you produce.
It alters the way you push it out. That's why I used to not like. I still am not a fan of performing outside, or I don't prefer it. I prefer to perform in smaller spaces with lots of people. I like it to feel evangelical. I like it to feel and have the people screaming and yelling. And I tell people, man, don't be scared to say what you're gonna say. Act like you done had 10 drinks or whatever. I don't know, but don't hold back, because the more you give, the more I'ma give.
Right.
And I used to tell people that when they're doing spoken word recordings, that they should do it live in front of a crowd. And nobody, or very few people ever really listen to me with that. But I kind of understand. Maybe the stuff that they're writing doesn't cause people to yell, scream, shout, and cry. I don't know,
I mean, if it doesn't, I don't know.
But that's what I'm about.
Yeah.
I'm about, I came from the school of, because not just traveling around for those slams, but I used to travel around, like I said, to the open mics. And if you ain't make nobody feel something that they never felt before, you ain't selling no product. And I had to sell product. If I didn't sell the product, I lived there. I live here.
You know how I ended up in Baltimore?
I live. If I ain't moving, I live here now, right here at that park, right there, that bench. I'm gonna live right on this bench until I can figure out how to like rock the next crowd.
People that follow you, people that know you, people that that are fans of you are crazy. Like, oh, this is it. You know, this is gonna be what we need for the culture. Not saying that Jay Ivy or anybody else wasn't for the culture. I feel like all these people have their chops. That did the things that they need to do. But I believe that if I had to vote, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking for authenticity. I can't say that word. Authenticity. Over production. Over the bells and whistles. I think that's the most important part.
I mean, I've listened to the album myself a ton of times. You know what I mean? And I love it. And there are things I would have done. Probably things I would have changed because I didn't. It's like I reduced it and then produced it again, which was kind of, I would have left some things raw before I went and mastered it.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Things like that. Sometimes like just technical stuff, like the mics that I use in some cases, I probably wouldn't do that again. You know, but in terms of an experience and in terms of a range of poems, I mean, it's everything. There's love, there's erotic, there is political, social, economic, and it's like all that, you know, and all that, like, you know, talking your shit, you know.
Right.
It's all in there, you know. There's a poem that Obi did, Obi West, where he was just like kind of like giving me love, you know what I mean? Just like a poem he dedicated to me, and that's on there. You know what I mean? I talked to him about like, yo, can I put that on there?
Yeah.
So that's on there.
Right.
And that poem is where Malcolm saw that poem, you know, Malcolm Jamal Warner, who was, you know, acquaintance, somewhere between acquaintance and friend. You know, we've known each other for 20 years. And he heard that, he saw that online. And while he was supposed to be promoting his stuff last year, he started talking about me and Obi.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I was listening to his album again today. And on the first poem of his album that he got nominated for, he mentioned me and Obi, right, in the same line. You know, he said.
I heard him do that.
He said he wanted to be Obi West. He wanted the swagger Obi West, and he wanted something like Talam Aces for other Fire and Talam Aces. You know.
Yeah, and he did that. I seen him do that at Apache one time, actually.
So like, I was like, because he mentioned a lot of people, but he mentioned me and Obi right after the other, and then he sees Obi do the tribute piece. He reposted on his page at a time last year when, you know, everybody else was really just trying to push their own stuff for the Grammy nod. He hadn't been nominated at this point. And in pushing it, he wrote this long quote. And that's where I took the piece of the quote from that is in Billboard magazine now.
Okay.
Is a quote after he saw me and Obi, and he reposted it, and he was like, yo, Obi is this, Talam is this.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's public. It's on Instagram, and he said it in October. So you don't even have to ask for permission for somebody to say. But I still was, you know, I reached out to him like, yo, you know, what do you think about, you know, me using this to push the album? Like, come on.
Right.
You know, like Biggie, if I said it, I meant it. If I said it, I meant it. Bite my tongue
for no one.
Evil
or unbelievable.
And that's what I say. One of these days, I'm probably going to break down in tears. I don't know if it's going to be in an interview or on a stage or wherever.
Make sure it's here at Live in the Living Room at Mellow Vision Studios over here.
It's been a real moving experience. I have never seen that level of support. Kiss walking in the club like, yo, you had a drink yet? You know what I mean? And shout out to Kiss and Mother. You know, I mean, like, and of course my people. I mean, Georgia and Red and the Biz and Tom. We go back forever. You know, so of course my people.
So back to the question.
And me and Red, I'll go to Red House and we'll sit there and not talk sometimes for an hour. We just sit there like this, like on the couch. We watch TV or whatever. And I'll get up and I'll be feeling better. Like I felt
Right,
better than when I came.
It's the energy.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Where can we follow you on social medias?
TalamAC.com is my website, which you can also get to by going to Karma Poet, one word, KarmaPoet.com. Because people say there's too many A's in my name. People still posting my name spelled wrong. Like, yo, I love TALAAM. I'm like, no, it's right there. It's right there. Right.
You put the two
You
A's
misspelled
on the
it.
end.
Yeah, you misspelled it right below where it's spelled correctly. And then so yeah, Talam AC at Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and I laugh because that's another thing about the Atlanta culture is every time somebody does a poem and they're about to leave the stage, they give their and I never do because I'm like, you find me or you don't.
But so that's one thing that I was very, very, very 100% adamant about when I first started performing, is making sure everybody or the people that was in the crowd followed me. And every time I perform, I get 10 followers.
I told you at your show, the other one that I went to, the one with the back porch thing.
Back porch?
Yeah, I spent most of the time out there sipping whatever with the cigars and stuff.
Social House.
Yeah. So when I performed there, I didn't give my information, and somebody came outside like, "Yo, like, I'm gonna need that."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a new world when it comes to that right now, because I think now I go to places and I perform, and I'm like, how many people follow me? It's half the room is already following me, and so that goes to show that that putting it out there just kind of helps build that, because we need it. We need it.
I need to do better.
Yeah, I got you.
I know we're closing out, but you just brought something to mind, which has always been something that's run through my mind throughout my whole career. Is I always wondered about the people who didn't support me, and I've seen people like do big things and then come back from those big things and be like, yo, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And then they go do something else big, but they don't mention it. My name doesn't come up, right? You don't affect me or you don't hurt me. Right. But if you help me, then I can help you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
It always comes back. It always comes back. It always comes back. Support always comes back. It may not come from the person that you supported, but it's always coming. Love is always coming back to you. You put it out there, it's always coming back.
They said, love is the frequency of magic.